Your brain is actually two separate halves, connected by a thick bundle of nerve fibers that lets them constantly share information. For decades, doctors treating severe epilepsy sometimes cut that connection entirely to stop seizures from spreading between the two sides. What actually happened to those patients afterwards is one of the strangest, most unsettling discoveries in the history of neuroscience, because it suggests that what you call yourself might not be as singular as it feels. This is where neuroscientists still disagree. Some argue split brain patients essentially do have two separate streams of consciousness sharing one skull, each unaware of the other's experience most of the time. Others argue it's less dramatic than that, more like two systems with limited access to each other's information, not two full separate selves. What almost everyone's agree on is this: the unified single I you feel yourself to be isn't a fixed biological fact. It's something your brain actively constructs by linking different processes together. And when that linking is interrupted, surgically or otherwise, the unity it produces can fracture in ways that are visible, measurable, and deeply strange to witness from the outside. In one of the most famous demonstrations, researchers shown an image only to a patient's right hemisphere, the side that generally can't produce speech. The patient's hand, controlled by that same hemisphere, would respond to the image, sometimes even pointing to a related object. But when asked out loud why they did that, the patient's left hemisphere, the verbal half, which had seen nothing, would confidently make up an explanation. Not lying, it generally had no access to the real reason, so it generated one that felt true and stated it with total confidence. One half of the brain acted on information. The other half, completely unaware of that information, narrated a story to explain the action anyway and believed its own explanation completely. Here's why this matters even if you never had the surgery. Researchers think your intact brain may do a milder version of this constantly. Different brain regions process information and trigger actions before you're consciously aware of having decided anything. And your sense of "I decided that for this reason" is often constructed after the fact, stitched together to make sense of what your brain already did. Split brain patients just make this visible because the two halves can't compare notes anymore. In an intact brain, the same kind of after the fact storytelling happens quietly behind the fully connected system that hides the seams. The unsettling idea isn't that split brain patients have two people in one head. It's that the feeling of being one unified narrator, calmly explaining your own choices, might always be a story your brain tells itself slightly after the decision was already made. Each half of your brain mostly handles the opposite side of your visual field. Your left hemisphere sees what's on your right hemisphere sees what's on your left. Normally, the connection bundle instantly shares that information, so you experience one unified view of the world. In split brain patients, that sharing stops. Researchers exploited this directly. They could show a word or image to only one half of a patient's vision, and the other half of the brain would have no idea it had been shown anything at all. This let science do something that sounds almost like science fiction. Have a conversation with one half of somebody's brain while the other half remained completely unaware the conversation was happening. You will probably never have this surgery, and you will never directly feel your brain's two halves disagreeing with each other. But the same machinery that creates that split is running in your head right now, quietly stitching separate processes into the single confident you that you experience every moment. Most of the time, the seams are invisible. Split brain patients are simply the rare cases where someone managed to see that. If you want to learn more about this topic, feel free to subscribe.